Good day, everybody, and welcome to 20 Minutes on Ice, powered by the Garage Door Sports Network. I'm your host, Ryan, and as always, with me is my co-host, Nick. We've got a great show coming up for you, so let's get right to our opening face-off. Today on 20 Minutes, we're going to be talking about the status of the Vancouver Canucks, and they're in the thick of their COVID situation right now. And also, we're going to be looking at the new Western Hockey League superstar, the Canadian junior superstar, Connor Bedard. Plus, we also have our Players of the Week, 3 hot, 3 not, and then we'll fire up the randomizer to see how we close out today's show. And I need my co-host in all this. So introducing now is a man who scores all 162 regular season MLB games at home, Nick McVicker. Nick, how you doing this week?
I'm good, man. And I know you make that joke, but the fact that I do score games if I watch them because I'm a reporter now and it's now ingrained in my head to do that is hilarious.
That's just, I wanted to say that's the lowest of the low. That's incorrect, but that's head scratching for me. I get why you feel the need to do it as a reporter, but baseball is so far off the radar for me. I actually resent baseball. That's how much I dislike baseball. So someone who actually scores the game for fun is just a alien idea for me.
Yeah, I've never done it for fun. I've only done it for games that I've been covering. So every once in a while, I'll pull out the full scoreboard and be like, okay, let's do this. It's just for me, if I'm writing, I like having it there because it forces me to remember what happened a little bit better. Like if you're just watching a game, sometimes you'll forget what happened in the third inning. How did the second out happen? Well, if I'm writing it down as it happens, I can look back and be like, okay, what the heck happened when I was writing that line? Like, what is going on? So that's the only reason it helps for me. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm sure hockey reporters are the same way. You'd have to keep notes about what happened. And just
you should have seen my notebook when I was play-by-play. Just writing the whole game.
Well, now that we're back talking to hockey and we're in my wheelhouse, let's look at quickly some goaltenders. And let's start on the positive side. How about the Leafs, Jack Campbell, who's stepped in here, one of these Freddie Anderson mystery injuries where we don't get a lot of information and really not a lot of people care. But Jack Campbell
is it a mystery? Is it a mystery? He's just not playing well.
Just give him a break there. But Jack Campbell steps in and is reasonably kind of taken the net. He's 9-0 this season for the Leafs. He's set a franchise record, a franchise that's 105 years old.
He tied it. Sorry. He didn't set it. He tied it.
He's 9-0, 9 straight wins. But
9-0.
Kind of a
he's one off the NHL record for most consecutive wins to start a season, trailing just Carey Price.
And so
Carey Price had a 10-game win streak.
You wonder now, Freddie Anderson's a UFA at the end of the season. And if this continues, the Leafs are comfortable probably letting Anderson walk. If Campbell all of a sudden has decided at 29 or 30 years old, however old he is, to take over the starting job here.
Well, let's not forget Campbell was a first-round pick back when he was picked. Like he was a high prospect. Unfortunately, he went to Dallas first. And that whole situation was a mess, and he never really got his footing there. And then he went to L.A. and backed up Jonathan Quick for a while, who, let's be honest, if you're backing up Jonathan Quick, you're probably doing something right because Jonathan Quick's a great goaltender. No matter how good you are, you're never going to get into games. So can you really blame him for not finding his feet until he was 29 in a situation where they're giving him a chance?
And the tendies develop later. Just like defensemen, they kind of develop at an older age, it seems. So,
unless they're Colorado defensemen, then they develop at 22 and no one understands it.
Yeah. At the other end of the goaltending spectrum, Carter Hart. Now, this guy was given 2 games off. Like, don't even dress. Kind of, you're not with the team when they went last week to Buffalo and played 2 games against the Sabres. They just said, stay back and get your game together. I looked up his stats. Since March 1st, he's started 9 games, 2 wins since March 1st. His goals against average on the season, 3.92. I mean, I thought this was a coming out season for Carter Hart to establish himself as a superstar goalie. I was wrong.
Everyone was wrong, Ryan. And it's tough because last year, he looked really good last year. And I think if we were going off of that, the logical next step would be he takes that next step forward and becomes an almost elite level goaltender. Unfortunately, the situation in Philly isn't pretty, and they're not helping him necessarily. But there are some games where he's done nothing. He couldn't stop a beach ball if it was fired at his net. And to add in, he's losing the game right now against Boston.
It's
As we record. So you know something's wrong. Something is not right in the way he's seeing the game. Maybe something's going on in his family that we don't know about. Maybe there's just something going on in his head that he's not telling people. And that could be the media. That could be even the coaching staff. Maybe he's not telling the coaching staff something that's really bugging him. We don't know, but something is wrong. And it's not pretty.
The numbers are really bad to the point where I think any other team might move on. If he wasn't a young goalie where he still has potential, teams would move on by this point. So like I mentioned, 3.92 goals against average. Looks like that's going to go up after tonight, Tuesday night as we're recording. 871 save percentage. These aren't even close to respectable. So Carter Hart, Philadelphia Flyers too. They're nowhere to be found versus last year.
Figure it out, Philly.
And not much time left to figure it out. So who knows? They may be out of time. But how about the team?
And the big question. No, hold on. Before we go on, the big question is his contract is up at the end of this season.
So he's an RFA, obviously.
He's an RFA.
What do they do? Yeah.
What is he going to get?
Who do you bring?
Brian Elliott's also a UFA at the end of this season. Not that he's lighting the world on fire either, but like, what does Philly do in net now? Like, they don't have an answer for their goaltending situation. Alex Lyon is not the answer. Let me make that very clear. Their taxi squad goalie, he is not the answer. In the system, you have Felix Sandstrom, who's also an RFA at the end of the year and 24 years old. What are you going to do? Yeah, they're going to have to go into the free agent market. They have to.
That almost sounds like a spot for Freddie Anderson if he were to test the UFA market, to push Carter Hart and kind of he's a step above Elliott, I would say. So, but how about the team? Yeah. How about the team that beat the Philadelphia Flyers? The Buffalo Sabres finally get a win last week after 17 straight losses. Round of applause for the Buffalo Sabres.
So excited.
And it was after, I don't even know if it was their lowest point because the Sabres have had so many lowest points this year where they blew the
lowest point in the losing streak.
They blew the 3-goal lead in the third period. They lost that game in overtime. But then they came back the next night, March 31st, and just took care of business 6-1 against the Flyers. And since they've been on a 4-game point streak. So I'm not saying they've turned it around,
and
but
they've looked good.
They've looked okay.
In the streak they've looked good. I'm not going to say they've looked great, but they look good.
For me, I don't think they've earned any credit based on the first 2/3 of the season. So 4 games is not going to get any praise from me.
I get that, but I'm just looking at the numbers themselves, and a 3.25 goals for per game this week where they went 2-0-2. And a 91.7 penalty kill is phenomenal. Yeah, the power play needs a little work. When you score 0 times, obviously you need some work. But they're getting shots, and it's something that they haven't done all season. So
everything in Buffalo needs work there. So let's head down
100%.
south to Florida as we do every week. It is time to hit up the Barks and Hubie tracker. So I like Jonathan Huberdeau. It doesn't mean Alexander Barkov is a trash player. And so now we are tracking them.
Are you sure that's what you mean?
We're tracking them all season. Nick, let's get this week's update for March 20. Where are we at now?
29th to the 4th of April.
29th to the 4th.
Man. It was an interesting week because Barkov last week was hurt. He missed all of last week, so Huberdeau got a bit of opened up the gap a little. But this week, Huberdeau did not help himself very much. 2 points in 4 games, 1 goal, 1 assist. He was a +1 and averaging 21-17 of on ice, which is not bad. 1 power play point, which was an assist. It's fine. 2 points in 4 games is fine. It's not what he's been doing all season. He's been averaging almost a point a game. And then Barkov comes back, and in the last 2 games of the week, decided, I'm going to do what I was doing before. puts up a goal, 2 assists, +2. Fine, everything's fine. Averaging almost 19 minutes of ice time. Welcome back. Shorten the gap that Huberdeau picked up the week before.
I'm just looking at the team stats here in front of me, and kind of the number that jumps out is, why is Jonathan Huberdeau with 42 points on the season at this point a minus player? He's -1, so you may as well consider that even. But that's kind of like, a question mark. What's going on there? Where Barkov is a +13, known as a strong defensive player. So would like to.
Well, there's your answer right there. He's a strong defensive player, and it also doesn't help when 18 of Huberdeau's points are on the power play. So he gets a lot of points on the power play, whereas Barkov has 13 out of his 40 points on the power play or penalty kill. So there's more chances for Huberdeau to have plus minuses in his points. But it's not good enough to be a -1 as an elite player. Like you can't be going out and giving up goals. I know he's getting points, which is great. 42 in 39 games is phenomenal, but it's not good enough if you're trying to be one of the elite players. I love Barkov's numbers, honestly. That's why I said it before the season. 40 points in 33 games is nothing to scoff at. Tied for second on the team in goals. I think he leads the forwards in time on ice this season. Like, it's just everything that you want a forward to be, like a two-way centerman to be.
Yeah,
he is, and it's just beautiful.
And the talk has kind of died down on him leaving Florida, but it's still possibly an option at the end of the season. So we'll see where this goes. And Florida's got a playoff run ahead of them. As of this recording, they're leading that division. So they're leading Carolina. They're leading Tampa Bay.
That's the big one. They're leading Tampa.
Yeah, it's definitely, you don't want to finish in that number 3 spot. Those are 3 great teams, and you don't want to be in that number 3 spot in that division. So just before
you definitely don't want to be in number 4 either. Don't be in number 4, because then you're guaranteed to face one of those 3.
I don't think those guys are falling to number 4. Just before we get into the main chunk of the episode here, Nick, the Masters. Got to mention the Masters golf tournament is on this upcoming weekend. Get a quick pick for me. Who's going to win the tournament?
Okay, there's a few guys that you should watch out for. If you want a full preview, we did one on Garage Door Sports this past weekend. Highly recommend you listen to that. Kyle's bigger into golf than I am. If you want a long shot, you got to go with, what's his name? There's an Australian. I can't remember his name now. I'll come back. It'll come to me sometime in the show. It'll come to me. But if I'm picking, I'm going DJ. DJ's been phenomenal this year. He's locked in. Jordan Spieth would be my second right now, just the way he's playing the last couple tournaments. He won this past weekend at the Valero Texas Open, but I still think DJ is that much better than everyone else when he is locked in, and he just seems locked in right now.
We'll see if he gets locked in. My picks are Justin Thomas. I like Justin Thomas coming off Players Championship. I like Lee Westwood. He's been in the mix a couple tournaments in the past month. And then just to add some Canadian content there, Corey Connors. Let's see if he can do some damage and maybe come from way outside to at least show up on Sunday. So we'll see what's going on. That's enough of the golf talk here on 20 Minutes on Ice. Let's get into the meat and potatoes. It's a bit of a cheery music, and we now have to talk about the Vancouver Canucks and the grips of
we should have flipped these around.
grip of a COVID situation in the team. They're currently at over 20 players and staff on that team are battling COVID. There's rumors that it's also the variant going through the team, so it's even knocking out players to the point they're bedridden, out of energy. But the week kind of started on a high point when they were able to sign Thatcher Demko and clearly make him the number one going forward. Just your quick thoughts on that, Nick. It's 5 years at $5 million.
I love that deal for Thatcher, and especially the way he's been playing now. If he continues to progress the way he has, starting last season, because he started to make that progression into a full-time starter, he kind of got the unfortunate news that Holtby was going to join the team, which meant he was going to take a bit of a backseat, but he's taken it in stride and now has become a great starter this season for the Canucks. I'm not going to say he's winning them games over and out, because the Canucks team in and of itself has some holes that he can't fix. but he's played exactly how they needed him to play this season. He's done exactly what they've asked of him. And if he takes that next step in the next couple of years, 5-5 could look like a steal. It could. I'm not going to say it will, but it could look like a steal. So I love the number. I love the length. It gives them enough time to let him fully become that starter and no worries behind it.
I think the Holtby situation worked out exactly as they wanted it to. It was almost like an insurance plan there. Bring in Holtby, almost look like he's going to take the net, or at least give that impression that he could take the starter's role to push Demko. And Demko took maybe a bit of time, but he clearly stepped forward and has taken the starter's role. And now Holtby's expendable, as they knew that would happen. And they'll move forward with Demko. He's given the Canucks the starting goaltending that they need and can hopefully get better. But first year, they have to get healthy. I mean, they have already missed, I believe, 4 games up to this point. And I guess we're in the thick of it right now. I feel like it could be 2-3 weeks before they're even playing games again.
Ryan, here's the answer. If the Vancouver Canucks play another game this season, it will be an AHL squad. I'm telling you that right now, because this variant, it is the Brazil variant, because they've now named the variants after where it was first located. So this was the one that was found in Brazil. It's, pardon my language, it's kicking their ass. And it's so tough to hear every day there's another positive test, which means another player could be bedridden. On top of that, there's 18 of the 22 active roster players have been listed as on the COVID list. 2 more guaranteed from the taxi squad. So you're already looking at 20 out of 25 players that could possibly play games for you. This doesn't include the number of staff members that have it and their families. This is more than just a hockey issue right now. And we have to talk about it from a hockey perspective, and that's fine, and we will. But I need to make this very clear. This is a very scary situation for those affected around the team. The players hopefully will be able to come through. I mean, they're healthy people. They should be able to fight it off. But we don't know who their family are. We don't know who's around them all the time. Those are the people that I'm most concerned about right now. As an outsider, as a not part of the organization, that's what I'm scared of right now, Ryan. I just needed to make that very clear.
Yeah, there's obviously concern, and there's desire for people to come out healthy and safe on the other end of this. And hopefully the fact that they play professional hockey and have, financial means available to them and better access to healthcare, quite frankly, hopefully that helps them in their recovery versus, let's say, you or I. But like you said, we have to look at it.
You're not wrong.
Look at it from a hockey perspective. I'm looking at their schedule here. Looks like they've had 5 games postponed. The earliest they could be playing is Monday, April 12th. I personally don't see that unless the NHL says you got to call people up. But if I'm the Canucks, I'm fighting.
Well, they already have.
They already have. Yeah, but they're not. Team facilities are shut down. I don't know how these people could be prepared for an April 12th game in Edmonton. I mean,
not going to happen.
Yeah, I don't see it happening. And I mean, even if you go past that next week, 2 against Edmonton and then 2 against Toronto, I'm not even sure they get those in. The earliest I see them back at this point is April 22nd at home against Ottawa. So that I'm looking at this, that's 10 games. If that comes, works out that way, that's 10 games right, that are going to have to be postponed. You're looking at 2 extra weeks added onto the season. Do the Canucks end up playing 56 games this season?
No. I don't even have to let you finish that question. No, they probably will not play 56 games. I would not be surprised if the Vancouver Canucks organization does not play another game this year. I know that would be awful for the NHL. I get that. I know that would be against everything that they want to go through. But shit happens. You have to make adjustments. And in this case, they might make adjustments and make it work so that the other teams make up their games against each other, which I know is not fair in this season because everyone was supposed to play the same number of games against every team. Well, this season is a complete mishigosh of mess that is. So make of it what you will. You want 56 games? That will be the only way that all the other teams get 56 games. Let's be honest. I don't think Vancouver was making the playoffs anyway. I don't think it affects the playoff race.
So is there a situation? So, okay, I agree with you. They do not play all 56 games. I see this playing out in two ways. They end up forfeiting games. And so if you had a game against Calgary, you get credit for a win there, unfortunately. Or they play until they are mathematically eliminated, or there's some sort of combination there where they see they're definitely not going to make it, and then they start forfeiting games. How do you see if you had to, go on a soapbox right now and declare how the Vancouver Canucks season is going to finish? How would you say it's finishing?
My personal opinion, or how do I think it will happen?
Well, those
are two different answers.
It's the same thing. You're the be all end all here, Nick. You have the answer. What is the answer?
They're done.
They're done. No more games.
In my opinion, they're done. Just because we don't know how this is going to affect them. We don't know how long they're going to be out. And at this point, trying to get those players back healthy is going to do more damage to them long term, because you're going to, let's say they test negative in 2 weeks. Let's say 2 weeks, right? Well, that's 2 weeks that they haven't been training. And on top of that, we don't know what the respiratory effects are going to be. So we might have to try to push them just to get them on the ice. Listen, I don't want to be pushing players respiratory after they deal with COVID just to get them on the ice to play 5 freaking games where they're already probably not going to make the playoffs. So in my opinion, they're done. How it's going to happen, they're going to call up a bunch of AHLers and make it not fair anyway. So it doesn't really matter. I
think they'll get a team on the ice because, unfortunately, sponsorship dollars will outweigh the logical answers here. And,
Yep.
Freaking Cavendish potatoes or whoever's on their big advertising tarps will be like, we paid for
Rogers.
10. Yeah, Roger, whoever it is. We paid for 10 games. You got to give us these 10 games. You got players, get them out there. We don't care what happens. So, and then these other.
Well, okay, here's the question though. Here's the next question. And I'm going to pose a question to you, Ryan. Are you ready? The question is, if the AHL players are the ones who have to play, and technically they can't open the facility, where the hell do the AHL players end up playing? Are we playing them in Utica?
Ooh, good. Yeah, they might do that if they can get advertising down there. But I mean, they've already called them up, right? While the players that they think they need.
They've called them up.
Yeah, well,
what does that mean?
They have to serve a 7-day quarantine, right?
They were already in Canada because they moved all the Canadian AHL teams up. Yes, it's not Utica. I know it's not Utica. I was using that as just.
No, I forgot that Stockton's in Calgary as well, and Laval's in Montreal. Yeah.
They've paper called them up just because they had to. When you place a player on the COVID list, you have to call somebody up. So yes, they're called up. But where do they play if they can't open the goddamn rink?
Well, if they have enough players who are deemed healthy, then they can open the rink, and then the players that are on the COVID protocol list will be forced to stay away from the rink. But then can you imagine if
I'm just saying, like, that's just another wrinkle that you add in, right?
Yeah, or even if you're stretched so thin on your roster and then you have another COVID outbreak on your team. Like, I just think there's such a minimal chance here of Vancouver playing all 56 games. So if you look at that,
there's zero chance.
Yeah. So now you got to look at the other teams in the North Division. Are we going to have a forfeit situation and then we can just go on points, or are your games against Canucks just wiped out and now everyone's going on points percentage?
Well, I mean, are we talking all the rest of the games?
The remaining games.
Are we talking all of the games?
No, I don't think you can. I don't think
just get rid of all of Vancouver games.
I don't think they'll wipe out the games that have been played. I think you want those on record. The remaining games, though, I have no idea.
I mean, depends on who you talk to. Ottawa would love to have those games wiped away.
Oh, every other North Division team would love the free wins. I think they'll be
Montreal. Because Montreal, no, I'm saying wiped away. Like, get rid of every game that Vancouver played this year, pretend like they didn't happen. Montreal would hate that because that would drop them below Calgary, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, so that won't happen because you've earned those wins and the teams will throw up a fight. But the remaining games, I mean, I think the other North Division teams would want the free 2 points for all the games they have remaining against Canucks.
I think they would want them near the end of the season for the next 3 weeks. I think they might actually want to play other competition just so they get the legs continuously going.
Now, the other situation you briefly touched on this is, do you replace? Not everybody has the same amount of games against the Canucks left, so do you replace those games versus other teams and have an unbalanced schedule? I don't think that's the way to go.
I don't think the NHL will do that. I'm fine with that. I don't care. For me, I don't give. If I'm a player, I don't care who we're playing. Let's just go play. Like we want to be on the ice so we can get more touches, more movement, and you just want to be playing competition. Like it doesn't really matter if it's Vancouver or if I'm playing Ottawa or if I'm playing Montreal or if I'm playing Edmonton. I don't care. I mean, yes, you would obviously prefer to play Ottawa over Montreal and Edmonton, but you get what I'm saying, right? You just want to be out there. I don't really care who we're playing at this point. Just give us a game. We're scheduled to play that number of games anyway. So mentally, I was ready for a 56-game schedule. Let's just play a 56-game schedule then. It's fine.
So we got to look at. I have to look at how did this, and people aren't going to agree with me, and that's fine. How did this happen? I mean,
I'm sure I'm not going to agree with you.
That's fine. Everyone's permitted to not agree. How does this happen? And what sold it for me, that someone did something they should not have. Someone was not as careful as they were asked to be. And I think the team should well, you're going through enough, so the team can't hold these people accountable. But just what you're doing to your team, and hopefully maybe this is an example of that. These players have to be so careful, and how can they be against a bubble? Like, just do the playoff bubble. Look what happened to Vancouver. Do you want that to happen to you when you're up 3-1 in a semifinal series? Nobody wants that. Because
could you imagine that, man?
You would have to forfeit the series. No one's going to wait around 2 or 3 weeks.
You'd have to.
You would have to. So get in the bubble for the playoffs. How did this happen? There are clear guidelines. And like I said, what sold it for me was, after this happened to Vancouver, a couple days after, the NHL sent out a memo, not saying, here's new guidelines. They reiterated their existing guidelines. So based on their investigation, obviously something happened with the Canucks. Clearly they found out that was not supposed to happen. And where's the fine that Washington got earlier in the season? They won't fine them right now, because that would be an awful look with this team trying to go through this health scare, and you did something wrong, you're hit with whatever it is, $100,000 fine. That would look horrible. But someone on the Canucks, or multiple players on the Canucks, did something they were not supposed to be doing, and now look what you've done to your team. And I can't help but think about that when I think about this situation.
I totally get what you're saying, and I understand that if something actually happened and it was a member of the organization, and this is where I'm going to be very clear, if it was a member of the organization that did something wrong, then absolutely fine them. But that's how it should be. It's unclear how it happened. There's so many possible ways that this variant could have made it onto one of the benches. There's so many ways. An arena cleaning staff member, right, who might not necessarily be. I know you're shaking your head, Ryan, but just let me finish my whole thought, and then you can shake your head at me. An arena cleaning staff member who could be a third-party cleaning company that comes in and cleans, could have brought it in. Didn't know that they were carrying it, right? Because they could have possibly had those symptoms and would not have known. It could have been a family member who, because the kids have to go to school, maybe it was a kid, right? Maybe it was a family member going to pick up groceries for an elder family member who can't pick up groceries. There's so many different possible ways that this could have happened. And I don't want to say because it happened in an NHL team, that team needs to be fined, because maybe it wasn't a organizational person who brought it in. Like maybe it was a family member of somebody, right? That could have happened. We don't know. So until we know, I don't want to say the fine has to come down. Once we know, if we know it's an organizational person, like the Capitals one, where they clearly went around the guidelines and did what they weren't supposed to do. If we know it's like that, absolutely fine them. But until we know, don't I don't want to talk about the fine until we know what happened. That's kind of my biggest thing. Do you understand what I'm saying at least?
Yeah, and that's why it's not being reported on, because it's not appropriate. I'll say it's not appropriate.
Well, there's also no answer yet. We don't know what happened yet.
I think it's going to be covered up, because not covered up. It's just not going to be reported on, or nobody's going to dig into, because they're going through something horrible right now. And it's really, it's not important based on what they're going through. Yeah. It's not important what happened, but I look at it and I think we already have the answer when the NHL sent out a memo reiterating what the guidelines are and why teams should follow them, because this could happen to you. And it's not like the virus goes away come playoff time or Stanley Cup final time. Like, this can happen to any team at any moment. And there's a reason why the guidelines are in place. And it's to try your absolute best to not let this happen. And you know what? Unfortunately, hockey players growing up in a hockey player world, which all these guys have because they're exceptional athletes, are sheltered from other things. And now that the real world is closing in on them, I don't think most of them know how to handle that. And that's completely my opinion. That's not a fact. But I think that's what's happened here. And that's why the NHL released a memo reiterating the guidelines. And it won't come out, and there's not a right time to talk about it. But I thought I should at least mention that I think someone did something they shouldn't have here, and they've really cost their team.
And I have no problem having that conversation. Again, like, I actually welcome the conversation. I think it's important to talk about. And you're right. Like, if that is the case, and it will come out, I will admit that it won't come out anytime soon, but I think it will come out as to what happened, or who. We know who the first positive test was, but how they contracted it, I'm sure it will come out at some point, because some reporter is going to do the digging and try to figure out the connection. That's just how it works. Someone will try to get that story because they'll be the only one with that story. Welcome to the media world. I'm not sure I like it, but it is what it is. It's the way it's going to happen, and it's unfortunate, but we're looking at it right now. It's not the conversation, and it shouldn't be the conversation right now, as you said. So I'm glad you brought it up. I'm glad we brought it into the world, but I don't think we're going to have this conversation for another 3, 4, 5 weeks.
All right, let's get to a little more brighter hockey news here. And Nick, you might have to take charge on this, because
yes,
I am not good at following prospects. Once you're in the NHL, then I got my eye on that player, and I can, keep an eye on their stats. But also in Western Canada, in the WHL, Canadian Junior Leagues, we have Connor Bedard, who's playing for the Regina Pats, and he has exceptional player status. I will go over his stats quickly. Regina was the worst team in the WHL. This year, they are 4-6-3. That's as of April 5th. So that's 13 games, and Bedard has 22 points in those 13 games. And he's not just doing it by himself. 8 goals, 14 assists. He's clearly making other players around him better. Nick, you have more of an eye on prospects. Tell us about Connor Bedard.
That's why you brought me in, Ryan. That's why I'm here. Honestly, Bedard is the real deal. Like, we talk about these exceptional status players, and he's the 7th in the CHL. There was 5 in the OHL, 1 in the QMJHL, who just got out of the QMJHL last year. Honestly, there's been almost all of them have been hits on the exceptional status. And let's make it clear. Exceptional status is a 15-year-old getting granted permission to play in the CHL, either the WHL, OHL, or QMJHL. So let's remember, he's 15 playing up against 20-year-olds on a bunch of these teams, 21-year-olds on some of them. That's incredible. He's putting up 22 points. He's a +5, which means he's not just doing it on the offensive end. He's also contributing positively on the defensive end. This kid is the real deal at 15 years old. I hope he continues to grow the way he is. But you watch some of his highlights, and it's stuff that 15-year-olds shouldn't be doing, Ryan, especially against guys who are 4 years older than him. And we could talk about CHL defensemen not being great, and that's fine. We can do that. but he's making CHL defensemen look like youth IP defensemen. Like he's silly good.
He looks
silly good is the best way to put it.
In the clips that I've seen, he looks like the best player on the ice. And clearly,
by far,
clearly the best.
He's not
player
even close.
And this
it's
is
not even close.
This is at 15 playing 15. Can you imagine that playing against not mature men, but more developed
4 years older? Most
athletes.
like a lot of the guys who are starting in these leagues are 3 or 4 years older than him easily, and it's just like, wow, he's making you look dumb.
I do want to go
like
over.
Growing up, I played provincial soccer, man. I was playing against guys who were 1 year older in exhibition games, and it was tough. Like, it is not fun. This guy's beating 4-year-older kids.
He looks exceptional out there, and just it looks good right now, and hopefully it continues. And if he's 15, there's lots of reasons to believe that it's going to continue as he gets older, bigger, smarter.
Right.
And you're at this point, because he did step in and he's lived up to the exceptional status. You have to put him on your radar for the NHL draft in a couple of years, 2-3 years. He'd be ready for the draft there.
At least 3. He has to wait at least 3.
Yeah. Okay. So let's look at the players who have been granted exceptional status. And I would say at this point, it's been a bit of a 50-50 toss up. So there was.
Okay. Hold on. Let me go. You want me to do this, Ryan? Let's go one by one. I'm happy to run this through.
Actual exceptional status, because before exceptional status, there were special circumstances granted. I believe Jason Spezza fell into this category where you could play as a 15-year-old for 1 year close to home.
It was a number of games.
A certain number. Okay. And then you went back into the draft to be drafted, I would say, properly into the junior league. So we're not looking at that. We are looking at the exceptional status.
The 7 players who are exceptional status.
Which it originally maybe was called the John Tavares rule because he was the first player.
Yeah. And he's been great. And he's done exactly what you expect from an exceptional status player.
He
was phenomenal in the O, and now he's stepped up and he was the captain of the Islanders, now the captain of his hometown team in Toronto. I think I heard a stat this week. He's almost a point per game since coming to Toronto, which is ridiculous because you don't necessarily expect Tavares to be a super point per game guy. Like, he's a great centerman, but I've never seen him as a point per game guy just because he played on the island, I guess. He's a point per game in Toronto.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so Tavares lived up to the exceptional status. I believe the next one after him. Now, this is kind of highlights like how this exceptional status goes. Aaron Ekblad, very good defenseman, and as a junior, I guess he earned that exceptional status, but not necessarily an elite superstar. And unfortunately, now he had that horrible leg injury, and he's done for the season. But Aaron Ekblad was another exceptional status. I don't know if this guy did anything. Connor McDavid, I haven't heard of him in a while, so
he's fine. He's okay.
Another player, didn't even know this guy, didn't even hear that he got exceptional status. Sean Day. I had to look him up. He was drafted by the New York Rangers. He had some time with the AHL Wolfpack. It looked like it went so well that they sent him down to the ECHL to play with the Maine Mariners. And that happened 2 seasons in a row. And this season, he's playing with the Syracuse Crunch. He's only been able to get into 14 games, and he has 5 points. Now, he's a defenseman. But
he's a defenseman. Let's make that very clear.
And just looking at
that was the biggest miss in my head on the exceptional status. Everyone else on the list, I think, actually deserves it. And we'll get into the other guys. But Sean Day was the biggest miss, and I got to watch him firsthand because he was exceptional status for the Mississauga Steelheads, my hometown crappy OHL team. Crappy OHL team.
He put up a lot.
They were awful.
He put up a lot of PIMs, but his plus minus was horrible. Listen to these plus minuses: minus 35 in his rookie year in the OHL, minus 27, and minus 13. Those are his first 3 seasons with the Steelheads.
And let's also point out, he never made the World Juniors. He never played for Canada's World Junior team. He went to the Under-17 tournament twice, once for Ontario and then once for Canada Red. But it's just not good enough, in my opinion, to be an exceptional status player. You need to be and exceptional status. Aaron Ekblad was the epitome of exceptional status defenseman. He did that. He did everything you wanted him to do in the junior levels. He stepped up to the next level, and it's taken him a few years to get to the level. But I think he's a top 10 defenseman in the league right now,
Ekblad,
in my opinion. And
okay,
I think so. I think so.
Disagree, but okay.
Can you name 10 defensemen better than him right now?
Off the top of my head,
I didn't say first. Hedman's first.
yeah, Hedman's first. You're putting me on the spot here, but I mean, yes, I could probably.
Well, that's my point.
I could easily, if I had some time, I could easily. He's the number one defenseman on the Panthers, but yes, I could easily name 10 guys better that I would take over Aaron Ekblad. Yeah, I would definitely find 10 guys.
Okay, I can't.
Quinn Hughes, Victor Hedman. I'll take Morgan Riley ahead of Aaron Ekblad. Now I got to go through the teams. Now's not the time, but yes, I'm comfortable. I'm comfortable in saying that I could take 10 players over Ekblad. Who's this? Who's Shane Wright?
Pardon?
Shane Wright.
Shane Wright is legit.
Okay, is this guy?
I love this kid.
Is this the guy playing for Kingston?
Yes.
Okay, so last year, I guess he doesn't have stats for this year, but last year, 58 games, 66 points, 39 of them goals. Looks like a player who might possibly live up to this exceptional status category.
Oh, absolutely. He is legit. He's going top 3 in next year's draft in 2022. I'm calling it now. Like, this kid is lights out. And in 58 games last year, 66 points, 39 goals, Ryan. Yeah. 39 goals in 58 games. You love it.
Okay,
At 15 years old.
Shane, that's big. Yeah, you're absolutely right. 15 years old, being able to put in 39 games. Let's move to the Q. Joe Veleno. I'm looking at his stats here. This guy hasn't been able to crack the NHL yet. Drafted by the Red Wings. He had a season last year with Grand Rapids in the AHL. He's supposed to be he's a centerman, not supposed to be a centerman. He is a centerman. 54 games in the AHL, 23 points, 11 goals, minus 25. And I don't know if he's not in Detroit's system anymore, but he is playing in Sweden this year.
They loaned him out. He's still with Detroit.
Okay.
They loaned him out because they weren't sure about the AHL season and what it was going to be. So they wanted to guarantee that he would get playing time, which is probably the smartest thing that they could have done because there was no indication when they did it whether or not the AHL was even going to have a season. But this guy, Joe Veleno, did get exceptional status. So he played at 15 as well. I had no problem with them giving him exceptional status, and I think he did exactly what everyone expected him to do in the QMJHL across 4 seasons. In his first year, he put up 43 points in 62 games. He's not a goal-scoring player. I would like to point that out. He's more of a two-way, like Alexander Barkov sort of thing, sort of player where he's a two-way player who does so well on both ends of the ice that you can't really find holes in it. And then he decided in his fourth year to put up 104 points in 59 games, Ryan. 104 points. Because why not? He's also dealt with a few injuries, which put his development back further from his exceptional status starting. I think he will be very, very valuable in that Detroit Red Wings organization. I do. We haven't seen it yet, so I have to leave that out. But in my personal opinion, watching him play, watching and seeing what he can do, I think he's going to be part of the Detroit Red Wings answer, not the problem.
And a two-way player, I don't think earns exceptional. Well, they do. In my head, they don't earn exceptional status. You got to be elite goal scorer or elite defenseman. Like you're already a beast at 15 years old. But we'll see where Joe Veleno goes. He was the only He was the only QMJHL exceptional status player, just like Connor Bedard was the only WHL exceptional status player. So it's a ton of pressure to be putting on a 15-year-old, but they want it because they feel that they're done competing with the players their own age, and they want to take that step up. And for some, like McDavid, Tavares, you might say Ekblad, and it looks like Bedard, it's the right choice. For others, it turns out to be not the best choice. We will be coming right back with our players of the week and 3 hot, 3 not. We're back. 20 minutes on ice. Ryan Haslett, Nick McVicker, and it is now time to get into our players of the week. Players of the week, March 29th to April 4th. I got the week right this time. I will start us off with Rookie of the Week. This guy keeps showing up. I think he's the clear Calder favorite. In my mind, he is anyway. From the Minnesota Wild. Kirill Kaprizov, 3 goals, 1 assist, 4 points the 29th to the 4th. 2 even strength goals, 2 power play points. And he was shooting at a 20% clip. So when you have your top rookie putting in 1 of every 5 shots, he's definitely going to be putting up some goals for you. So once again, Kaprizov is Rookie of the Week for me.
Yeah, I love the shout. I mean, Kaprizov has been legit. Late title contender would be Jason Robertson for the Calder, but I still think it's Kaprizov's trophy to lose at this point. I think he's got that one in the bag.
Yep.
Unless something happens, and hope nothing happens. I'm going to go off the board here, Ryan. Off the board. I didn't even tell you before the show who I was taking in my Rookie of the Week, and you're going to be thoroughly surprised. I'm taking defenseman from the Buffalo Sabres, Jacob Bryson. This kid is a rookie. He hasn't played a whole lot before this sort of losing streak. He kind of came in the middle of the losing streak.
He got a chance because it's a pile of losers.
Well, he's now he's playing top line minutes with Rasmus Ristolainen on that Buffalo Sabres back end, averaging 21-15 on ice this week. He picked up 2 assists in the game against Philly that they broke the streak with. So, ready for this, Ryan? They are undefeated when this kid picks up 2 points. Undefeated, killing it. I love him. He's honestly played fantastic. He's a +5 this week in 3 games played. +5, and he only had 2 points, which means he's on the ice a lot more for goals than he is against. And he's played in all 3 games this week. So I love it. 3 out of 4 games this week. I love him. I think he's played really well. He's not going to get any shout for a Calder. He probably won't get another Rookie of the Week nom for any of us. But this week, I think he earned it. I know he doesn't have the most points, but there you go.
All right. Well, I mean, Buffalo will take all of those little victories at this point. Goalie of the Week. Who do you have this week, Nick?
Man, goalie of the week. This one was a tough one for me just because there was a lot of good goaltenders. I'm going this week with Martin Jones. 4-0 on the week, 4 wins, got a shutout in one of the games, .942 save percentage, $171 goals against. Those are the kind of numbers that get your team out of the swamp that the Sharks have been in. And he's finally showing that he could be a starting goaltender in the league. I'm not going to say a great starting goaltender, but he could be a starting goaltender in the league if he continues to play like this.
He did show it for a while, and then it fell apart the last 2 or 3 seasons. But he would have been my pick as well. The Sharks, he took the Sharks 4-0.
Sorry.
But the Sharks go on this run, and then they look at the standings, and they're still 5 points out of a playoff spot. But so Jones,
you hate that. You hate it.
Jones would have been my pick, but I'll go with your Colorado guy, Philip Grubauer, here appearing for goalie of the week again. He went 3-0 this
for the
past
150th
week.
time. It feels like.
Now you talked about Martin Jones from the Sharks. He had 120 shots against in those 4 games. The numbers are low for Grubauer. He only had to face 74 shots in those 3 games, stopping 68 of them. That's a .919 save percentage and a 2.0 goals against average. Colorado is on fire. Grubauer is part of the reason, so he is my goalie of the week.
You nailed it. Colorado's on fire, and they don't give up a whole lot of shots. Like, let's be very clear. They do not give up shots.
And they are just ripping it. When they grab the puck and move up the ice, everything is speed and skill and precision. It's exactly what we wanted from the Colorado Avalanche.
It makes me so happy that we finally get to watch the Colorado Avalanche play more.
All right, player of the week. I'll lead us off here. I'm going to Colorado again. I sound like you in previous weeks. Nathan MacKinnon in 4 games from the 29th to the 4th. He had 7 points, 3 goals, 4 assists. He had 1 power play goal, 3 power play points. One of his goals was a game winner, and he fired 21 shots on net. Plus, he had an end-to-end rush against Minnesota. Or not an end-to-end rush, but the puck was shot up the ice in a matter of 2 seconds, and he just goes in Luis Mendoza speed. That's a Mighty Ducks reference, and just roofs it on the Ducks.
He couldn't do the knuckle puck, though.
Nathan MacKinnon is my player of the week.
I love it, Ryan. He's been great this week, and you mentioned he's kind of just done everything. And that's kind of what you love. I'm going to give a couple honorable mentions on the player of the week. Got to shout out Ryan Murray, defenseman, 6 points this week was a +6. That's great. Also, we have to shout out Brad Marchand, 5 goals this week in 3 games.
Nope.
Good for him.
Nope.
But my player of the week, Matt Barzal. Islanders center did exactly what you want from the guy who at one point was being talked about as the next captain after Tavares, and that didn't happen, but that's a whole nother issue. 7 points, 3 games, had a goal, 3 goals, 4 assists, was a +5, and only one of those points came on the power play, and it was an assist. Now that says a lot more about their power play, but that's a whole nother issue as well. And 19.25 average time on ice. Love it. Those are the numbers you want to see.
Barzal is a highlight reel machine. And if it wasn't for him, watching the Islanders would be as exciting as reading the dictionary. This guy actually
watching the Islanders.
He brings the spotlight to the island, and they may or may not want it. I think they might be happy with being a quiet team. But yeah, Matt Barzal, just a highlight reel machine, like I mentioned. Nick, same time frame, March 29th to April 4th. It's time for 3 hot, 3 not. The top 3 teams, the bottom 3 teams, in our opinion, from that time period. I will lead us off with the negative news, the 3 not. You can bring us back up with the 3 hot. All right, in the number 3 spot, and they didn't necessarily have a terrible week. One of them had a terrible week, but they're in the number 3 spot because they lost to the Buffalo Sabres. So I've put Philadelphia Flyers and the New York Rangers in the number 3 spot. I'm not even going to go over their stats. You lost to the Buffalo Sabres. You deserve to be in this spot. And Philly actually deserves it. The Rangers should just hang their head in shame, and we're going to shine a light on it by putting them in the number 3 spot. The number 2 spot.
They lost in OT. The Rangers lost in
Buffalo.
OT. Come on, give them a break.
They lost to Buffalo. It's as bad as losing to District 5.
Overtime.
The number 2 team on my list, and this is just a team who's fallen off the rails. I've mentioned that their coach is probably done at the end of the year, and it's just unfortunate. I hope they can pick it back up because they do have some pieces in the system. The Anaheim Ducks went 0-2-1, 6 goals for in those 3 games, 12 against. Here we go with the special teams again, 0% on the power play for the Ducks, and they only averaged 21.3 shots per game during that week span. Not good enough for the Anaheim Ducks. And I will close out this drab fest with the Calgary Flames. They just look like they're trying to play 2012 Kings hockey when it's not 2012 anymore. They're not a team that are going to beat up on players. It seems like maybe this coach hiring came from ownership rather than the GM, and it's not going to turn out to be the right move. So Calgary was 0-3-0, 5 goals for. They cannot score, 12 against in those 3 games, 14.3 on the power play, which is meh, not great, and 75% on the penalty kill. Those are just not great special team numbers, and that is why Calgary is my number 1 not hot team this week.
Yeah, I can't really argue with any of those calls. I mean, you nailed it, Ryan. Let's flip it. Let's make it positive. And we are going to start with number 3. We talked about Martin Jones being great. Well, the Sharks have looked really good this week. 4-0-0, picked up all 8 points in 8 games. 13 goals for, 7 against. Beautiful numbers. 11% on the power play, and the big one, 100% penalty kill. 100%. You love it. That's what you want to see from a team. Number 2 coming in are our Florida guys, Barks and Hubie. They were 4-0 this week too. All 8 points. That's going to be a trend on all 3 of my teams. Wink, wink. 15 goals for, 5 goals against in 4 games. So 1.25 goals against average across those games. It's something that you want to see. Power play number, I would like to be a little higher. It's only at 7.7%. But the penalty kill at 90% is beautiful. And they're also shooting the puck 35.8 times a game, which is fourth in the league in that span, only trailing my number 1 team. And for probably the 4th week that I've had hot, it seemed to do really well when I have the hot week. Colorado, man, they've just been lights out. 19 goals for in 4 games this week, 8 goals against. That puts them at a 4.75 goals for per game, Ryan. 4.75. And on top of that, 25% on the power play. The 87.5 penalty kill, it's not a perfect number, but 87.5 is not the worst number. You can deal with 87.5 as a team for a week if you're putting 25% of your power play opportunities in. And listen to these numbers. This is incredible. 39.8 shots per game they're shooting. They're only giving up 25.3. That is incredible numbers. I love it. And this is what I want to see from my Colorado Avalanche because they are flying right now. So are Florida. I will give them credit, but Colorado is literally flying through that division.
San Jose, it's almost like you clean up the goaltending and all of a sudden that team is what they're supposed to be, just like that.
It's amazing what happens when goaltending's working.
Who was your number 2 team again, Nick?
Florida.
Tops, as we record, top spot in that division against Carolina and Tampa. That's a team that's putting it together as a team right now. So excellent work there. And normally I'd bust on you for choosing Colorado and being a bit of a fanboy, but you're absolutely right. They are the number 1 team. They look like a championship team right now. So just like you couldn't argue with my picks, I cannot argue with your picks there. Well done, Nick.
You can try. I won't let you.
All right, Nick, we're going to fire up the randomizer because we're going to close out the show, and let's see how we do it. Today's game, shoot or pass. This is a would you rather situation. So we'll come up with 1 or 2 situations. It's a would you rather. So shoot or pass. You can present the shoot option. You can present then the pass option, and it's up to the other person to choose what they want to do. Nick, I am prepared for this one. Do you want me to go first?
Yeah, you can go first. I'm prepared too. Don't give me that.
Yeah, I know you're prepared. I got one going here. So,
all right, I'm in.
And this ties in with Colorado Avalanche. So, your shoot situation, you have 10 chances to stop Nathan MacKinnon on a breakaway, or do you take the pass situation, which is 10 chances to score 1 goal? Sorry, I should have said you have 10 chances to stop Nathan MacKinnon once on a breakaway. Or
I figured that.
Or the pass situation, score 1 goal against Grubauer on 10 breakaways. Which one are you taking?
Well, considering I don't skate very well, I'm going to go with trying to score a goal against Grubauer. I'm assuming it's a one-on-one kind of shootout scenario that you're proposing to me.
All shootout all the time, yep.
Okay. Yeah, 100%. I will take the 10 opportunities to try to score on Grubauer before I will take 10 opportunities to try to stop MacKinnon because I don't skate backwards as fast as I skate forwards. And if I'm going forwards towards the net, I have a better chance of scoring.
What if you're the goalie against MacKinnon?
Oh, not a hope in hell I will save a single puck.
No, not one? Not even one? Not even like a diving poke check where you take him out at the ankles or nothing?
No. Not a chance. I will try to score on Grubauer every time.
And do you think you get one by him? On 10 chances. Tomorrow. If you had 10 chances tomorrow.
So I have this weird back foot slap shot that confuses a lot of goaltenders. So maybe if I get really lucky, I might be able to sneak one by, but I don't have high faith in that. I would like to make that very clear. I have no faith in that.
Sounds like a bit of a guy with the beer league team at the bar after the game. Man, I got this backwards slap shot thing. If I could just perfect it, I could have been in the show.
Oh no, I had no chance. But I didn't learn how to do a proper slap shot. So I made this back foot slap shot. Which isn't, I didn't make it, but I figured out how to do it. And it confuses every goalie that I've ever played because it doesn't look right. Like I'll be coming full speed and then all of a sudden I'll be pushing off my right foot and shooting right-handed, and it just confuses everybody. So I don't think it would work against Grubauer. I want to make that very clear, but maybe if I hit it the exact right spot, maybe I get lucky. Lucky is the key word.
All right, hit me up with your first shooter pass.
All right, Ryan. Well, we talked about Calgary being just awful right now. They're in a tailspin. The Stockton Heat are hovering around 500. So shooter pass, Ryan. You are a NHL prospect in the Calgary Flames organization right now. Too young to go back to the CHL. Can't do that. Out of the question. Shoot. You have to be on the Calgary Flames and deal with that mess that is. Or pass, you go to the AHL and deal with the middling Stockton Heat. And just for this year and next year. After that, you're a free agent or something. But this year, you have to deal with one of the two Flames organizations. By the way, we were both wrong. Utica is actually playing in what they call the North Division. So I think some of the players from Vancouver's system have been called up and they are doing quarantine, a 7-day quarantine. Okay. So I apologize. That's my fault for not having all the information. I wanted to just make that very clear.
There we go. All right. So Calgary, they're just it's an outdated team, and I don't know if Daryl Sutter is going to rely on young players.
And you're a prospect. Let's make it very clear. You are a prospect. So you are not a guaranteed Goudreau or Monahan in the lineup. You're a third or fourth line player.
Oh, so I'm just in their system.
You're a prospect in the system,
but
so
not.
You will eventually get to that point.
They're not expecting.
You're not top line players.
They're not expecting top line stuff out of me. Do I know about this 2-year thing, or that's just the way it's going to play out? Like, can I see
I'm using that as a hypothetical?
Well, it matters. I mean, if it's a contract situation, if it was a contract situation where I'm gone in 2 years, I probably want to play in Calgary. I think any player would bet on themselves and say, I'm going to go to Calgary and play in the show and try and showcase myself as best I can.
Okay.
And then
here's another. Let me take that option out then. Okay. No contract. You are signed for the next 15 years somehow on a very good contract. Right. This is more just, would you rather play for the Flames right now, or would you rather play for the Stockton Heat?
I think just the fact that it's the NHL, play for the Flames, but there's seriously a high chance that when you're in Calgary, at some point I just look down at myself and go, man, I should have stayed in Stockton because this is not working. So
that's what I was wondering, just because Stockton technically still has a chance to make the playoffs.
Yeah, even that. I mean, I really think a young player could be hampered by Daryl Sutter in Calgary right now. So, all right, my final shoot or pass here, Nick. Which one's scarier? Number one, shoot. Play your starter for the final meaningless regular season game before the playoffs. Or pass, having to start your backup in an elimination playoff game. So you could be eliminated. You got to start your backup, or your backup's hurt and you got to play your starter for that meaningless final regular season game. Which one's scarier?
Can I ask what team I am?
It's
that changes the answer. That changes the answer to me.
It's whatever team has a lesser than backup goalie. So we're not talking Leafs right now. Someone who is clearly not as good as your starter in the backup role. Which one is scarier?
I mean, scarier would be starting the backup in the elimination game, just because it could end your season, right? How many games do goaltenders really get hurt in? Let's really think about that. In the grand scheme of things, less than 10% of games a goalie gets hurt.
Yeah,
roughly.
Yep.
We're talking like 5 to 8% probably of games that a goaltender gets hurt. That's a 5 to 8% chance that that's the game that the goaltender gets hurt.
But
so for me, if I'm looking at it, I know, and I understand what you're saying, because then you have to go with the backup the entire playoff run. I get that. But if we have a 1-game winner take all, and I can't have my best goalie in there because for some reason I decided earlier on, that means we won 6, or we've won 3 games to get to that point.
With your starter,
Possibly.
though.
No, with the backup.
No, I said you got to put the backup in for that elimination game.
I get that, but what I'm saying is, this is also my hypothetical because I guess I'm assuming that the guy got hurt in the last game of the season. The goalie got hurt. I don't know why I just made that part of my hypothetical because that's not part of your hypothetical. But I don't know. I still think it's scarier to start the backup in the last game, in the elimination game, than start the starter in the last game of the season. That's a lot of start. My head hurts now.
All right, Nick, finish us up with shoot or pass here.
Oh, my head hurts. Hold on. All right, Ryan. This is one just because I know you, and this is going to be a fun one to watch you just squirm as you give this answer. You get to pick one player, and they have to stay on your team. You can't just cut them right after this. They have to play for your team.
Okay.
Would you take Matthew Tkachuk or Brad Marchand?
How dare you? How dare you, Nick? What a horrible
This comes
choice.
from the ever so fun conversation that was going on Twitter where you called me an idiot. And I know how much you don't like Matt Tkachuk, and I know how much you really don't like Brad Marchand.
All of a sudden,
so I'm very interested to see what your answer is.
Brad Marchand, I have no time for. Just someone, unfortunately, he has a ton of skill, and someone who, but I don't think he respects the other players out there with him. I think he is more interested sometimes in doing stupid things rather than winning and playing right. And I just thought Matthew Tkachuk was a kind of a hard-nosed player like his dad who could get out there
and his brother. Let's not deny his brother.
Yeah, and his brother, and he could get out there and stir some things up. But he's becoming just a bit of a weasel now. And in fact, a large weasel, and I don't like where it's going with him, in my opinion. Unfortunately, I literally hate myself right now for taking Marchand in this one, and it's just because of the points he can put up, and I hate that you're making me make this decision. And it cements my opinion that, in fact, you are an idiot for making me do this. So
hold on. How does that make me an idiot?
You're making
that makes no sense. See, now your point is just being disproven from earlier this week. Thank you.
You thought a little love bump was a check from behind, and you started making a case for Tkachuk.
Actually, I never said check. I said hit from behind, which is technically I was right, and that is in the rule book. Any contact to the numbers is technically a hit from behind. I'm not wrong.
I still think you're wrong, but I'm taking Brad Marchand in this horribly unfortunate situation. And you know what? Wrap it up. There's the horn right there. So we don't have to put up.
Ryan doesn't want to give me another chance.
We don't have to put up with any more of Nick's antics because the horn went off, and that brings an end to this 20 Minutes on Ice. Be sure to subscribe to the show, or if you're watching on YouTube, hit that thumbs up like button, subscribe. Hit the bell notification so you get notified for new episodes. You can follow me on Twitter at Ryan_H16. Follow Nick at Nick McVicker. And you can follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at 20 Minutes on Ice. And also be sure to head on over to GarageDoorSports.com and find all of the shows on the network under the shows tab. We will be back next week with more 20 Minutes on Ice. Until then, thank you for listening. Goodbye, everybody.